Hi everybody. So this is my second channel. My first channel is Rafts of Knowledge, which is dedicated to writing essays about life and how to live a better life and what sort of activities to do in order to become a better person, I guess. I'm not so sure on the accuracy of that definition, although that's not such a bad definition, but I would rather give a more eloquent definition later on in this channel. And okay, that's not even the case, but what was I gonna say? Yeah. Okay, the point of this channel is to just let it all out and ramble about life instead of just me trying to edit myself so much or try to come up with the best thing to say so that I'm not wasting your time. That's what the first channel is about. Rafts of Knowledge is like, okay, I'm gonna have to be concise. I'm gonna have to be very, cut to the chase, and there has to be no fluff there. I have to just say everything in a very useful manner. But this right here that you're trying to listen to, although I would say that would be a very hard thing to do because my speaking is so all over the place and I don't know if anybody's actually listening to me right now. But I would say this channel is just very much a tangent, not a tangent, but like it's like going into rabbit holes and not even knowing where you're headed. Like not even knowing where you're coming from. Because when I go into rabbit holes, I get lost, man. I get lost. I can't even get myself out of it. That's exactly how I think, I guess. Maybe that's kind of a very huge sign of my lack of productivity in my thinking, or the lack of precision in my thinking, which is the same as saying you don't have clarity in your mind, right? Maybe that's maybe that's what it is, and I need to fix that through the episodes that I upload on this channel, which is going to be very much raw and unfiltered and unedited, so it's not gonna feel any daunting to me. So the whole task is not gonna produce any fear, although I would say I'm always under some sort of filter when I'm speaking. I find myself to be under the filter or looking through a different lens that I normally would, which says that I don't have full authenticity, which is something that I'm going to fix here, right? And I would love to do that because I'm very passionate about kind of like coming into any spheres or any areas of life with the true self, not to mask yourself up just to fit the description of what others are expecting you to be, to be unapologetically yourself. And when you show yourself, then you have the chance to improve yourself. Otherwise, you're just lying and concealing the truth. And the truth is that you have so much to work on. And when you don't see those areas that you need to work on, then you're not going to be able to work on them. So the more you expose your kind of vulnerable self, the more you're motivated to work on those areas that you don't like, that are just coming out in public and you don't like, and you wanna go about solving those issues that you don't feel comfortable with, or don't think that, or you don't think that they're just even useful. You think that they're just like some sort of lack of clarity sort of situation. Because when you're talking, if you imagine yourself to be talking in an audience, like in front of a very large crowd, it's like inevitable that you're gonna go inauthentic. That's for sure. I mean, if you're starting out and you have no experience, that's the scenario. And if there's no experience, then you kind of don't even know what to do, and you end up doing things that you think the audience wants you to do, which is the opposite of what they want you to do. What they want you to do is to just show yourself to them, and that's what they are there for. And they're not there for, you mimicking their image back to them. You don't have to mirror what they are back to them. You have to show your difference. You have to show your vulnerable self, and you have to show what you truly think about. And even right now, as I'm saying this, like I can sense some tension rising up at some point, like not all the time, but at some point in my speech, I see kind of like those those tense feelings just poking their head into my conversation and kind of derailing it out of the truthful point that it should be going toward, just because I'm feeling a bit afraid. And that fear should be completely eliminated, because the fear is standing between you and you showing your true self. It's creating a huge wall that you can break through. And that's like, why would you feel afraid of talking? Like, let's talk about like speaking in public, for example. Why did you like fear others seeing you talk? Like, what was it about that was so fearsome? Like, what is it that you're afraid of? You have to ask yourself these questions. And I would say like asking questions has become very prevalent in my life and in my mind, that it has become the most the predominant way of thinking for me, because I know that the most useful way of thinking is to ask the right question. And I would love to ask the right question all the time, because sometimes I'm like feeling so afraid of something, or I'm feeling so ashamed or guilty, or whatever feeling you as a human being have experienced, I've experienced too. And I kind of want to like get to the bottom of it, because I know that they're just illusion that has been created by some sort of unclear thinking, ambiguous blob of thoughts that has been existing in your head, and you've been putting too much emphasis on other things, worrying about other stuff rather than actually getting to the core of what your feeling is consisted of. And when you do that, everything will shatter to nothingness. It will. And I promised you that it will, because even right now, I'm feeling a bit of stress rising up to the top of my head, which is so weird, because like this is not a channel for me to show that I'm like perfect at speaking, or perfect at creating ideas, or generating ideas within my mind, or like coming up with the insightful things to say. This is not a channel for that. It's a channel to bring it all out of my head, to kind of like make myself think more clearly. And that's the only objective here. We don't really have any other reason that we like. I don't have any other reason that I come up here. It's my diary. It's my mental diary, I guess. And that should be very much emphasized, so that I don't forget the purpose of this. Sometimes I would forget, and I have to bring myself back to the, to the initial step that I just started this from. And I come to realize that the feelings of fear has kind of like really swept me away, and made it so difficult for me to serve the true purpose of this whole thing that I'm doing. And so, to not go too much into abstraction, let's just get back to the tangible example that I was talking about, which is like when you're talking in public, why do you feel that like fear rising up, that lack of confidence, or I would say feeling like you have to attain a level of excellence in your speech so that you impress other people. Just like being yourself is actually impressive. Just letting it be very chill and very calm and just like thinking to yourself as if you're talking to yourself, that's very impressive. And if you do that, you will show yourself who you are. Because believe it or not, most of your identity is going to be created by you just going out there and showing yourself to the world. Not in a not in a way to show off or like to be very arrogant or whatever, no, but like to engage with people and getting to know different parts of you, because people bring out different parts of you that you didn't know before, that you didn't even know existed, and situations actually bring other side of your identity to the light, and they shed light on the true picture of who you are, because you don't even know who you are unless you actually go try so many things, unless you go and poke your what, well, poke your head into so many areas of life, I guess, or areas of like knowledge, because that's also something else that you need to do. You have to kind of become a well-rounded person in terms of like having a broad range of knowledge in all areas. And to be clear in your thinking, that's the whole goal of this podcast and the whole goal of me even creating the first channel, because before I went into this, I felt like I am not doing anything with my life, or I felt very much like a stagnant person who's going backward rather than going forward, and that created some sort of illusion that I felt very guilty about. So I started talking about it. I started to talk about these things that I was gonna do to bring myself out of that pit. And I know that there are so many people that experience this same effect in their psyche, and I'm not the only one. I know that that is actually a very frequent thing that can happen to anybody on this planet, but my situation was like so difficult that I couldn't bear to stand a second of it. And so I went on and I said to myself, well, it's not getting any better. I'm not getting any better. I'm feeling very down most of the time, and I'm feeling very scared, and I'm feeling like I'm not doing anything. I'm feeling like I'm just, just jumping on the spot, jogging on the spot, and not jog. I was just like jogging on the spot. That's exactly the metaphor that I would use for that situation that I was stuck in. And it seemed like that, but I was doing a lot of things. I was reading, I was publishing essays, I was actually making videos in my other channel. Before Rafts of Knowledge, I had another channel which was kind of like geared toward art and creativity. I would talk about creativity and how you can become creative, how you can come up with ideas, so many concepts that I absolutely enjoyed diving into. And I was doing all of that. I was using every minute of my day, every second, every hour. And at the same time, there would be this background residual feeling of guilt that I don't even know where it was coming from. But I was feeling guilty that I wasn't doing much, or I wasn't doing the right thing, or I felt stupid because I felt like I'm just working hard and not working smart, when in fact, I was working smart. But I didn't have anything to measure myself, my level of smart working or my level of even hard working. Like because I was isolating myself in that way, or I wasn't connecting to the true self. I would say guilt comes from you not knowing who you are and doing things that are not actually helping you understand that. And I was doing, like, when I was working on the first channel that I ever created on YouTube, it was not in aligned with my belief system. It was not something that I really cared about. So I did it it was a hobby. I wouldn't say that I never cared about art. I do always care about art, and I even right now I do care about it. I appreciate the level of understanding that comes from artistic endeavors, and that's for sure something that you need to take a deep dive on. But it was becoming my job, which is something that I never wanted to have. So like I never wanted to treat art or anything like the most important part of my life, but I was doing that. And I was feeling that guilt when in fact I was doing the right, not the right thing actually. I was doing so much, but at the same time, I was feeling like I'm not doing anything. So that feeling of meaningless or lack of purpose that I was sensing in my core was created by me doing stuff that I don't truthfully care about. And that was very much like very hard to break through that feeling or that pit, that whole state of mind that I was in, very hard to break through because I didn't even know where it was coming from, and I wasn't investigating too deeply into the root of the matter or root of the issue, and so therefore I was stuck. I was jogging on the spot. That's exactly what it is that I was feeling, and well, I promised that I'm gonna change that situation. And the only way that I felt like is going to help remedy that and break through the whole huge wall of issues that I created around myself was through thinking clearly. And the only tool that I figured was going to be useful for thinking clearly was to write and write and write. So I started writing every single day, and well, most of my writing wasn't actually going to be coming into videos, but at some point I started to think in terms of like being very very disciplined about that writing. So I came up with another tool, which is like channels on YouTube. You can just do that and use it as kind of like the accountability tool. So you are holding yourself accountable because there are audiences out there. And so that's just like that social dynamic is going to create this other responsibility that you will probably stick to more than when you're doing it in absolute isolation. So I felt like, yeah, that would be a great choice and I would go with it. I would run with it. I started doing some writing and I figured that most of my thoughts and most of my bad feelings that I felt at the time was just kind of like resolving itself because now I could see what I can replace it with and how I can never feel that ever because like it wasn't exist like it didn't exist anymore because feelings comes your feelings they all come from your thinking, and if you're not thinking properly then you will create feelings that are not useful and practical, or like not even that is like gonna be completely irrational and deteriorating the whole fabric of your life. And that's what you must avoid, and the only way to avoid that is to be genuine in ways you think, you know, be thoughtful about everything and try to verbalize your thoughts on a daily basis. You can do journaling for that. You can write essays, you know, like pick a topic and write about it. I know that maybe the topic is not even related to what you're experiencing at the time, although I'm not saying that you have to pick a different topic than what you're experiencing, no. But if even if you're writing about something very, very unrelated to your situation, but you're feeling like you're discovering things, you're going on research, you're having epiphanies because right now, like you're generating ideas, and the more you generate ideas, the more creative you become, and the more the more productive your mind is going to become. So as you write, you come to realize that the world is more beautiful than you've been looking at lately. It's just much more filled with beauty than you can possibly see because you lack knowledge of what it actually is. and you're passing them by without having any thought about what's it made of, you know? And so that brings me to another point, which is you need to always be learning about even scientific matters. So the world that you see around yourself, the physical realm, you don't know anything about. You have no idea what it is, but you have to always be thinking about it. You have to always be investigating and discovering things about it, because that's exactly how you can become, how you can get yourself out of that jaded situation. Like you feel very, you feel like everything is just so trite and everything is the same. That sameness can be broken down to pieces if you just go and try to learn some science behind the physical, the features of this physical realm that you're living in. And that makes you want to look at the world, and when you look at the world, you can see how beautiful the sceneries around you are, because you now know what's happening at the subatomic level, even, or at levels that you never even thought you would be able to think about. So life has much more to give you, and you have to just search for the best way to think about this world. You have to be on that quest. You have to go and hop on that mission of bringing clarity to the world and also to yourself. I mean, the first thing that you do is to be yourself a clear thinker, and then help other people to think clearly about their life and about how they can approach different parts of their life, so that they will appreciate life a little bit more, and get to know that life is beautiful and we can live with peace and with that beautiful pursuit of knowledge, which is going to create only joy for you. And you're going to be excited every second of your life. Like, motivation is never going to leave your mind. That's just never going to happen. You're never going to feel down ever, because you have so much to explore and you have so much to learn and to appreciate. So it's like when when you have arrived at a very beautiful landscape that is filled with all sorts of trees that are just so different from each other, and they all bear different fruits, and you just like, you never feel tired, because you know that there are so many things that you've never explored, and you go on and on and on and on until you see that there's no way you can explore any further because your time is up. So that's kind of life. And I would say appreciate every second of life, because time is ticking and your life is going with it. And you need to come up with a mindset that can strengthen you in every moment of your life. And that is only possible through self-knowledge, through knowledge of the self, that is actually, through knowing your depth of thinking, through like getting to the bottom of it and kind of debunking so much myth that you've been holding on to. Because believe it or not, there are so many limiting beliefs that we hold on to without us even knowing it. So now you have the chance to dig into it and try to figure out how you can kind of make it go away and replace it with another cycle of thinking, and that can bring so much joy into your life. And so everything will become like a deep dive into your own world, because now you see what sort of transformation is taking place insidiously when you're going and exploring something outside of you, and you appreciate the change that it is bringing on inside of you, and you will become a different person. Man, you just like have to choose a mission that you know is going to turn you into the most prolific character that you can possibly become. And that's exactly how you're gonna do it, by putting yourself through hardship, of just like learning new things, because learning new things and doing new things, it is the hardest thing that you can possibly do. I mean, like, if it's completely new, then you have to learn a bunch of stuff, and that is not an easy process, and it is not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be hard. Otherwise it would be very like purposeless. Like why would you do something that requires no brain power, and it's like it's the same as just sleeping, just pick something that challenges you, that can give you an opportunity to grow new brain mass, new brain neurons, new neurons in your head. And that's like, I don't buy into the stupid myth or the scientific thing that they say the older you get, the less efficient like your mind is gonna get, not your mind but your brain, or like the less likely it is that you're gonna be like beating somebody younger than you. Or I mean, like let's not look at it from a competition standpoint, because I hate that. We're all on our journey of discovery, but even if we were to talk about that, I would say like look at scientists, look at like prolific scientists, like for example Einstein. Did he get like less smart by growing older? I would argue that he actually got super smarter than before by just growing older, because as he grew older, he read, he researched, he went on discovery missions. He actually made so much effort to do new things, and to learn new things, and that really kept her brain younger than even before. Because I don't know if you know this, but like in the past, like he wasn't actually in his younger years, he wasn't that much of a genius, but slowly he kind of attained that brain, I would say, dynamic of thinking like a genius. So you can always use this example to motivate yourself, to be able to build new structures inside of your brain that it helps you in every part of your life, even when you're feeling the most like daunting emotional conflict inside of you. You can make it your default system to go into the bottom of it and try to kind of pull it down to the ground, so that it's not this big huge monster that you've built inside of you. So that's probably a wrap. And with that, I would say always go for the most clear way of doing something, and try to write it down and be clear in what you want to accomplish, and not just let it run you over and like let it drag you along itself. Don't be the slave to the daily routine that you have no control over. Be the one who brings about new and novel and like innovative, so much like excitement into your days. So the only way you can do that is by writing something intentional and doing it and like following up on that. So I'm gonna just state the date at the end of each episode. It's January 14, and it's Tuesday. So yep, that's the thing that I was thinking about.